Hey guys, this is Scott from the FTGU Podcast. Welcome to an FTGU Cinema Convo. Today I'm going to be talking about what's the proper order to watch the Star Wars movies. Now you might be like, well, Scott, there's obviously just one proper way. Why didn't you make a whole video about it? Well, I'm going to because I want to, because I've seen this question come up a few times, different forums and different things like that. So I thought I'm going to address it with my own personal opinion of what's the proper way to watch the Star Wars movies. There's 9 of them out right now, with Han Solo about to come in theaters now as the 10th in this installment. You might ask yourself, which order should I watch them in? Should I watch them in the theatrical release order, which starts with the originals, which is technically in chronological order are the 4th to 6th movies, and then watch the prequels and then hop forward to the newest era? Is that the way you should watch it? Because that's the way I like to. My personal favorite way is the theatrical release order, which is watching them in the order that they came out into theaters and into movies. The order they were released to the world that we got each of them in. That's my favorite way to watch it. That's the way, to me, is the proper way to watch it, because you get the context of everything. These stories were told in a certain order for a certain reason, because you couldn't have any of the future, in my opinion. This is all my opinion, asterisk all that. That was an asterisk, not an X. I don't have multiple hands to make an asterisk at 5. Can't do it. My point is, this is all my opinion, which is my opinion. The proper order to watch it is because George Lucas went through making the originals first, and those prequels came after, even though in the story they're technically before, because you had to care about those characters. We wouldn't have ever cared about Anakin, or we wouldn't have thought of Anakin's importance that much if you didn't know the fact that he was one day becoming Darth Vader. You wouldn't know the significance of his relationship with Padme without the context of those originals, and the prequels are technically like a flashback in a sense, or a telling of what happened before. That's what a prequel is. But there is the option of watching them in the chronological order, which is where you watch the prequels first. You go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, thrown in Rogue One in between 3 and 4. And that's I think that's a good way to watch it if you've already watched all the Star Wars. The chronological order of watching them it's not, I wouldn't say confusing, but I think it doesn't hold the same gravity, because I think we can all be honest, the prequels aren't as good as the original ones. I can admit that. Even though I love the prequels still, I grew up with those. Those are my Star Wars that I got to see in theaters as a kid. Those are the ones I latched on to. Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan will always be my Obi-Wan, but I can acknowledge that the originals are better. I like the originals better myself to rewatch, but I still like the prequels. That's not the point. The point is if you do watch it in the chronological order of the movies and how they take place along the Star Wars storyline, then starting with the prequels, I think if you're new to Star Wars, could maybe give you a bad taste. You'll be left confused about certain things, like who's Yoda? Why does he matter? What happens to Mace Windu? Why is Mace Windu in the original prequel series? These different questions that'll be brought up that I feel when you watch the originals first, then the prequels, and then the new era, it all makes a little bit more sense, and the story, I think, becomes more complete in that way. But that's again, this is all just my personal opinion. But then you guys there's one more option, which I wrote down and just called the other option, which is you can just watch them in whatever order you want. Like, if you're someone who is newly introduced to Star Wars, which, if you've been living under a rock, but I'm kidding. Everyone's got their own things. I've never seen High School Musical, and I never fucking will. My point, though, is the other option that isn't the theatrical release order or the chronological order of watching the Star Wars movies is watching them the other, which is just picking them and watching them in any order, really. They all, for the most part, are pretty complete individual movies. That's how George Lucas originally planned it. That's why the first one is technically the 4th one, is because he foresaw this kind of serialized way of telling it, similar to the Flash Gordons, but he wanted with this own universe of Star Wars. So they all can individually be watched as individual films. You will be really confused about if you try to watch Revenge of the Sith without watching any of the other movies, but if that's what you want to do, you can do that. But again, this option is particularly for those of us who have watched them all chronologically and theatrical release and rewatch them all a bunch of times. That's what this other option I think is really for. It's for those of us who are like, oh, like me personally, I've seen the prequels and the originals so many times that I could probably just get away with just rewatching the newest ones, The Force Awakens, Last Jedi, and Rogue One. And then maybe get to the other ones after that. But it all depends. That's what the other option is. But I think those are your three options for what's the proper way to watch Star Wars. But guys, let me know in the comments below what you think the proper way to watch Star Wars is, what the proper order is. Should you watch it theatrically? Should you watch it chronologically? Or do you guys agree with some kind of mix of another? Let me know in the comments below what you guys thought. And thanks again for joining me today, guys. Have a good one.